What's happening, everybody? I'm Steve, and welcome back to Junk Drummer TV. And apparently, we have reached the Mean Girls era of the channel because I'm going to do 2 videos in a row where I'm complaining a little bit. This is the subject that everyone's talking about, and not just people on YouTube. Musicians in the real world are talking about this subject. Bands playing live with backing tracks. And I said the next time that I got asked about it, I was going to do a video. I got asked about it yesterday, so we're going to do a video. I have a friend. He's a very successful lawyer, like private jet successful lawyer. No, I haven't flown in it yet, but I do plan on it in the near future. And I get to talk to him about law stuff and politics. And anytime I bring a question about a law situation that has like a binary possibility of outcome, he never says either or. Absolutely. He says it depends. If you ask me if it's bad that bands or artists, let's say artists, play with backing tracks, I say it depends. And I'm going to use these 2 examples. Paramore, Taylor Swift. I guess Paramore's opening for Taylor Swift, so I guess it works. If you go see Taylor Swift and she's playing with backing tracks, although I think she does have like band members on stage for this tour, the biggest tour like that's ever happened, and she plays with backing tracks, that's fine, because when you listen to the original recordings of that, very little is actually made by human hands. That's just the nature of pop music and has been for decades now. So if you go see like a hip hop group and they're just playing along and rapping along with their tracks, shut the fuck up about it. I don't think it's that big a deal, really. If you go see a pop tart artist, don't complain about hearing backing tracks, sweeteners as we call them, hear them singing with like harmony vocals when there's no one else on the stage. I think that's my view on that side of music. It's not that big a deal. But let's talk about Paramore. Paramore's a band. They have instruments. When you listen to the record, you can hear that human hands made the music. So if you go see Paramore, you better expect them, or at least they as artists, to play their fucking instruments. Now that we're talking about bands, I have a completely different thought process on this. Future Steve here, editing this video, and because I sometimes don't keep all of my thoughts in line on these rant videos, hopefully I'll get better at them as I do more of them, and it looks like that's what we're going to do. I omitted the part where I should say Paramore absolutely plays live. Paramore absolutely sounds great live, and I really like that band. Haley, whatever her name is, she's awesome. What a fucking great performer. So I wanted to make sure that you knew that while I was doing this rant about comparing Paramore with Taylor Swift. If you pay today's prices for live concert tickets, you as a consumer should expect that you're going to get a real live recreation of this music that you really like. And you probably don't have the expectation of it being perfect, a perfect rendition of what comes off of the record. I mean, a lot of bands can do that. You've seen Rush live. They did that every fucking night. If you go see Paramore, man, y'all better be playing. Y'all better be singing, because you're a band. This is where I'm okay to be a dinosaur when it comes to this. I actually ran into this the last time my metal band played. We opened for like a B-level, like radio rock, like a butt rock band. And I had my back to them, and they were sound check. We were waiting to sound check, and they were sound checking a song, and their harmonies were fucking awesome. And if you watch the channel, you know that I'm a huge fan of vocal harmonies. I'm from the South. That's what we live on. And I said to myself, that is some badass harmonies. And I turned around to see the harmonies being reproduced, and it was just like homeboy really singing, to his credit. The bass player obviously just like mouthing the words, not singing. And then I heard 3 parts. Now here's the thing about backing tracks. Unless you're an eagle-eyed citizen music fan, citizen meaning someone who's not a musician, you may not even notice it. You may not even recognize that that's what you're saying, and maybe that's how these bands are getting by with it. Can't pull that shit on musicians, especially once we've played 1,000 live shows. We know what shit's supposed to look like. When I saw the band playing, and there was also keyboard sweeteners, I think maybe even they had like their auxiliary percussion on the track. When you look at it, and it was 4 guys, 2 guitar player, bass player, singer, drummer, and you're hearing so many more things, it's like the Fibonacci sequence is off. Your ear hears that. You know, when you see someone who's obviously had really bad plastic surgery and it just doesn't vibe correctly with your evolved brain, that's what any face should look like. It's like that for musicians when we see a band playing with backing tracks. We see what's going on, but we're hearing something else. And there's just this big disconnect, and it makes us all uncomfortable and some of us kind of pissed off. I think that if you are a band, if the product that you are reproducing was made with live musicians in a studio, God damn, man, it is your duty to practice and play this shit right. I can almost see using backing tracks for percussion because if maybe it's a cost cutting, and that's what it really comes down to. It becomes a cost cutting measure for these bands. Instead of hiring the keyboard player and instead of hiring the backup singers and maybe a percussionist, if you have a lot of tambourine and shaker parts, instead of hiring them, you can save money by using as few musicians as possible. And we could get into the economics of how everything is more expensive now, but that's not what this kind of channel is. I think that you should just expect your crowd to not care that it doesn't sound like an exact replica of the recorded version, and it's sloppy, and I think it kills your soul a little bit. Like, as a musician, when I get off stage, I want the thing that I'm chasing is the high of doing a good job and connecting with the audience. Well, if you're using a backing track, maybe you're connecting with the audience, but do you deserve it? And then I didn't even know this. A student told me about this. Apparently in like the extreme metal corner of genre world, that there are drummers now playing live with recorded double bass parts where like they're playing the hands of the song, but the double bass is the track from the recording. How dare you?
How dare you?
Just practice is free. I say that to my students all the time who complain about not being as good as they should be. And if you're not as good as you should be, it's just because you're not practicing enough. I'm not as good as I should be, and I don't practice enough, so I don't bitch about it. But practice is free. And furthermore, if you're like a big time touring band, that's your only fucking job. All you have to do is get up in the morning, make sure that you are good at your instrument, and then go produce the music live. That's it. You don't have to pay bills. You probably have a business manager to take care of all of that shit. You don't have to walk the dog. You have someone for that as well. Learn your fucking instrument. Motley Crue, that's the one that is seems to be the most egregious. Of course, in the middle of this civil war between Mick Mars and the rest of the band, really, Mick Mars is really starting to look like the hero of that bunch. There's a video of Nikki Sixx with just both hands off the bass, and you hear the bass. Like, it's getting egregious. It's getting to the point where, like, that's just rude. At least mom the shit. Unforgivable. It's unforgivable. Here's the thing. We're probably like 10, 20 years away from live music not even existing because AI is going to make all the songs anyway. And then it doesn't matter how it's produced. Probably be robots up there producing the music note for note. And that's really what it comes down to. Do you want a robotic experience? I'm going to see Tool in August. And I know that huge amount of money that I just spent, and that's going to probably be the next video on the price of concert tickets this summer season. Jesus Christ. I didn't think I was going to have to give up my firstborn and my English bulldog just to get tickets to Tool. Settle down. But anyway, I know that when I go to Tool, I know that I'm going to see great musicianship, and I'm going to see people who care enough to give to me my value in the ticket. That's what it comes down to. But here's the thing that no one's talking about, because no one comes to this with any kind of like economic background, because they're all stupid musicians. If people were paying the prices for these shows and getting backing tracks and sweeteners, and they ain't saying shit, and it's easier for the band, they know that, you know, you're getting rid of any possibility of disaster on stage. And if you're a Fish fan, you live for those moments, those disastrous explosions of mistakes that you think about more, sometimes more than just them being awesome. They don't have to hire as many people, and they are quote unquote giving a well in time, in tune performance. And if the crowd's not saying shit, what is going to be the reason for them to not do it? There's no motivation to stop doing it. So I think I can speak on behalf of like 90% of musicians when we say that's bullshit. Absolute embarrassing, greasy kid stuff. But if people are going to still buy the tickets, what's the motivation to stop? What y'all have to do is quit paying $400 to go see Imagine Dragons mimic on their fucking instruments. You can just sit at the house and listen to the recording and watch the videos. So until that stops, this is only going to get worse. This is only going to get worse. It'll get to the point where you can just be up there with like obviously cartoonish cardboard instruments and just mime the recording, and people will just lap it up. I mean, hell, people spend a lot of money to see some douchebag sit behind a Mac computer and do like this all night and DJ. So maybe the crowd will get what they deserve. But us musicians, we know that's not what anyone deserves. Well, that's my thoughts on it. If you liked all that, please give me a like, comment, and share. Give me a double tap on the subscription and the notification bell. And hey, man, if you want to be a great musician, no one starts off with that love that you have, that innocence and earnestness that you start out when you start playing your instrument, and think, maybe one day I'll sign a record deal and I'll go on stage and I won't play my instrument.